Good morning.
Good morning. It is Sunday, October 13th, mid-October already, 2024.
It's hard to believe.
It is, and our topic today is the best is yet to come. Now, that's not hard for most of us to believe. We're always looking forward to better, better life, better circumstances, better health, better everything. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing to do. Ernest Holmes says here in this is from a book called This Thing Called You. Ernest Holmes, our founder, says life will be to you what you are to it.
Hmm.
Link your will, your thought, your imagination, and your feeling with divine presence. Now that's a profound statement. It seems simple, but it's very profound. In other words, he's saying no, that you are one with the divine. You can't be apart from it. It's who you are. But when you think of yourself as a divine being rather than this poor little helpless human being, it totally changes everything. And so, what link? He says, link your will, your thought, your imagination, and your feeling with divine presence. Know that the divine is always with you. So when you know that the best is yet to come, you're always expecting something better, even if you have the appearance of experiencing something worse right now, you have to kind of know that this is just temporary and the best is coming. So this also fits in with how we label things good or bad. Before I tell the farmer story, do you have anything to say about that? Don't let me just take over
Yeah.
here. Okay. Okay, so I'm sure you've all heard this story, but I'm going to repeat it because it really bears repeating right now. There's a story of a farmer, and he was a poor farmer and had neighbors around, but he and his son managed to round up and corral a bunch of wild ponies. And his neighbors, who were a little bit envious that he suddenly had this wealth in a herd of animals, were stop by and say, "Oh, you are so fortunate. You are so lucky that you got all these horses." And he says, "Yeah, I don't know if it's good or bad, but I certainly got a lot of horses." And so his son decided to break one of those young ponies. And as he was trying to break it, and it was a wild pony, it kicked him off and he broke a leg, which is a major thing and a major recovery. And so the neighbors would stop by and they say, "Oh, that's so sad that your son broke his leg. That is really unfortunate." And the farmer says, I don't know if it's good or bad, but he does have a broken leg. And so time went on, and before you know it, a war is started, and the governors of the area are recruiting people for the army. And they come by his house to recruit his son. And they go, "Look, we can't recruit him. He's got a broken leg." So the neighbors again come by and say, "You're so lucky that your son didn't have to go to war. That is so fortunate." And he would say, "I don't know if it's good or bad, but he did avoid going to war." So, and this story goes on, and I'm going to stop it there, but it's really wise. And some things have happened to us lately where we've had to say, "How could this happen to us? How could this terrible thing happen to us?" And the story has come back to mind for me, and I've had to remind myself, it's too soon to judge it as good or bad. How do I know that in the long run it's bad? It might be painful. It might be, not what I wanted, but the best is yet to come. I don't know the final outcome of this. And so if I stay away from judgment and link this whole experience to a divine experience for me, for us, it is just so much better than wallowing in discontent and poor me and why me and all of that. That's so easy for us to get into.
And I'm reminded of when we first got married. I bought a trailer We were gonna rent one, but I thought, well, why rent one? We can buy one, a used one, a used U-Haul. And that was a good thing. I got a good price on it. It was big enough to carry all of our stuff. So I thought, wow, we'll keep everything in it when we get to our location and it'll be our storage and we'll save money on storage too. How ingenious is
How
that?
brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a hurricane that we're riding through now and we're on,
Just a mild one.
yeah,
Just a
mild one
mild
on
one.
I-90, I guess it was I-95, I think it was.
I-95, raining the whole
Yeah,
state.
and all of a sudden I noticed a wheel passing us. And I thought, that's interesting, a wheel passing us. And I looked in my mirror and I see flames coming from the axle of my trailer that is now dragging on the ground.
And the wheel was on fire.
Yeah, yeah, the wheel was up, yeah, also, which is kind of an interesting thing to see. And so
It's
we
like,
ended up,
wow, where did that come from?
so we ended up having to go to a U-Haul center where we had to take everything out of the trailer and put it into a smaller trailer, only to find out that not only was the trailer that I was taking dangerous, and I didn't know it, but that I actually couldn't have towed that larger trailer across the mountains the way we did. And so it needed to be smaller.
Because we were moving to
We
Idaho.
were moving to Idaho, where we were gonna have a new life and kind of, well, you're always having a new life. But what was interesting was that every step of the way, something bad happened that was something good. It was for us, not against us. And I think that's part of what we want to be able to say. And I think it's difficult sometimes for me, I know, to not move into the universe is against me, as opposed to the universe is not against me, it's always for me. And the other part of that, which I think is important, is that if the universe were against you and wanted you gone, it could take care of that. It's not that difficult. We're really small. And so the evidence that the universe is in favor of us is that we're here. But the conditions are twofold. The conditions are often for our teaching, for our learning, and for our growing. And the other is for us to have a richer experience of life that we wouldn't have were these things not to happen to us. And if you think about some of the difficult things that have happened in your life and how much hurt there was and how much pain there was, and later how much you learned from those very experiences, it's really interesting. So
Yeah, so if we always say to ourselves, the best is yet to come. I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know
yeah,
where, but the best is yet to come because you're always creating. You're always creating your own experience. This is a long quote from Ernest Jones, but it's so profound.
that's wonderful.
It's from a book, A New Design for Living. And page 14 of that book. And he says, one of the fundamental steps we need to take in creating a new design for living is the recognition that we are dealing with a power, that's power with a capital P, that makes things out of itself by becoming the thing that it makes. So each one of us is created out of this thing we call God, our creative energy, and it makes us out of itself by becoming the thing that it makes. So that's what when God as me, in me, is me. God in me, as me, is me. That's a profound thing to say and to know and to realize. So it goes on, there is no separation between the creator and the creation. What if we really believe that? There is no separation between the creator and the creation. They are one and the same thing. Is this not the way everything is created? Is not everything made out of that which cannot be seen? Is not the invisible always becoming visible in accord with a form or pattern? In helping ourselves, we are not using some mysterious power of concentration, some unknown force, but rather are consciously using the creative energy of the mind, excuse me, not the mind, which once recognized may be definitely and specifically employed. Once recognized. In other words, you can't use it until you recognize it as power, as the power of the divine. We're always thinking, we're always musing, but we don't, all of that thinking is not creative, meaning it's not creating. The tendency of your thought is creating.
Right.
But when you know that this thought is connected with the mind of God, then everything you think is creating your experience.
Long before the caterpillar creates a cocoon and climbs into that cocoon or weaves that cocoon around themselves, long before that, they're still becoming a butterfly.
They don't know it,
They
but
don't
they
know
are.
it. And the eating that they're doing and the nourishing they're doing is not to nourish the caterpillar, it's to nourish the butterfly. It is
Yeah.
and the thing that they're creating is not visible to them, but they're still creating. And so I think what we could say is whatever it is I'm creating with, I'm creating for, is part of the evolution that I said yes to. That this is my journey, and there's no part of it that's a bad part. There are parts we certainly don't enjoy, but these are all aspects of our own personal development.
I suspect that caterpillar, when it's melting into goo, is not happy about the circumstances. In other words, that the caterpillar, before it becomes a butterfly, has to unbecome.
Yeah,
It
literally
has to just
dissolve.
literally dissolve itself. And out of that comes the butterfly. But I'm sure the caterpillar thinks it's a catastrophe,
Mhm.
just as we tend to think of physical death for our human beings. Oh, no, that's the end. It's terrible.
What's
No,
interesting,
it's not. It's a transformation.
what's interesting is the caterpillar is making a cocoon, not a casket.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
A cocoon, not a casket. Yes, that's exactly what happened. And so, in our human lives, if we have a nice long human life, we have a lot of times that we feel like
We're
we're
making a
entering a
casket.
casket instead of a cocoon.
Yeah.
And yet, when we get to the other side, we usually are wiser and have more understanding, and can even see the benefit of that hardship. So like I said, it's always good not to judge, is it good or bad? I don't know what it is yet, just I may not be enjoying it. I may be enjoying it, but all I know is it's for my highest good. Everything is for my highest good, whether I like it or not.
So then the mission is, how can I embrace what it is I'm encountering, what it is I have created that I may not know I've created? How can I embrace that? How can I live in that experience rather than how can I have it be a judgment that leads me to putting myself on hold or making myself feel bad that this has happened to me? A lot of my suffering isn't the thing that happened, it's what I make of it. It's the assessment of who must I have been or who must I be to have done that. And when we have that
Or
assessment,
cause that.
yeah, if I caused that or I did that, then that means that I'm a bad person, which is not valid.
And
However,
not helpful.
no, it's not helpful. But you know what? We've often had our parents when we were very little say that was
Mhm.
you're a bad boy. Well,
Yes.
why am I a bad boy? Because you did something bad. Oh, I had no idea that doing something bad meant I was a bad person. And I don't think they meant it that way, but we actually got trained at a very early age that we are measured by our behavior and as a human being, not that our behavior is being measured and that we can change it, but you did that, therefore you are.
Yeah, I thought I was such an enlightened mother when I learned to say, instead of saying, you're a bad boy, that's a bad thing to do. And I was taught, I think, by my Montessori teachers.
That's actually brilliant,
Yeah, just that's a bad thing to do, but not that you are bad,
right?
because they do embody
And then
that.
we even teach our children something worse than that. We say, you're a bad boy, go to your room. In other words, you're a bad boy, now you are banished. And the worst possible thing for a child is to be banished or separated from those that they love, from those that
From
love
their
them.
family, yeah.
And so what you learn at a fairly early age is if you do anything wrong, you become the wrong and you're no longer available. We no longer want to have a relationship with you. And that's depending on how smart and how mature and how many other experiences you have, that can be a really, really bad disease to carry for your life, which is part of why a lot of people don't have successful relationships because they can't make an allowance for a failure. They become a failure.
When I was in college and studying psychology, and I gained more confidence about my ability to talk to teachers who were college educated when I wasn't. But I was getting college educated, and my son was in fourth or fifth grade, and I went to school, and I found that they had him sitting on the stage in the cafeteria, which is what they would do when kids wouldn't stop talking, when they sounded in some sort of sound that told everybody to quit talking. Well, he was hyperactive, fourth or fifth grader, and he was very talkative. So they put him on stage, sitting on a stool by himself. And I was horrified. I mean, he had everything but a dunce cap on. I was horrified. And I talked to the teacher. I said, "You use shame? You use shame to motivate these kids?" And she looked all embarrassed. And then she said, "Well, we have to do something. We can't spank them anymore." And anyway, I got my point across. This is not okay.
You know,
You know,
spanking would have been better.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's the same thing as go to your room,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
banned, you
yeah.
can't. But also everybody's looking at you. You're on stage, you're a bad boy. It was terrible, terrible. So I don't know if they continued the practice or not, but it didn't happen that day. It didn't continue that day.
But I think we need to be watchful that we are engaging and enrolling ourselves in life, not banishing ourselves as a result of an experience we've had that hurt us or that we felt hurt by. And so this self-banishment, this self-beating, we often do, and it interferes with not only the experience and the value of the experience, it interferes with everything. And if our thoughts become things, when we decide that we have no value, we will receive evidence to support that.
Right, and you just totally lose touch with this thing of being linked with the divine.
Yeah.
When you're full of shame and I'm not no good or not good enough or whatever falsity we say to ourselves. So it's just so important to link yourself with that divine identity that really is the truth of you. And in meditation, you can reach and access that part of yourself that is just literally one with the divine. And it's lifting, it's absolving, it's comforting. And I just really urge everybody to spend some time every day going within, consciously connecting with the divine, however you think of that, the divine. Some of us go sit in the lap of God, even when we don't believe in God as a man in the sky, but we still do that practice. Let me go sit in the lap of God. And it's very comforting. I know several of us do that, including me. And because I had a father who had a wonderful lap. And it was great to go sit in his lap and be comforted and feel protected. And so I do that exercise sometimes. So
Interesting. So to summarize, we have to make that statement in our own mind that the best is yet to come.
the best is yet to
And
come.
I'm willing to embrace this moment in preparation for that best in order to be able to bring whatever it is I'm experiencing that has value into my future. If the future is what we're preparing for in the daily living, then it's really important we don't erase ourselves and then not be prepared for. The natural response we have to things that go wrong is to hide or to run, to fight, roll over, to freeze. Those are natural responses, and the real mission is not to not have those responses because we cannot help those. It is to not have them take over for long periods of time. It's for us to be able to say, okay, I ran away, now I can get back. I froze, now I can unfreeze. I rolled over, but I don't want to lay on the ground. I don't want to attack. I started to, and I realized I could stop that. So the mission is to have those things happen less often for shorter periods with less intensity. And to go, and whenever we can, to step into, I can allow myself to love myself. I can allow myself to be loved by others. And think of the numbers of times you've done something that you didn't feel good about when you couldn't love you and someone else tried to and you wouldn't let them either. And then, it's like having a pout in which people eventually learn to leave you alone, which is the worst thing and what you don't really want.
It's the last thing you want.
Yeah, really. Just leave me alone. Not really. Yeah. Well, we want to,
Indeed.
we want to get away from ourselves when bad things happen, but pasting those in.
Wherever we go, there we are.
Yeah, I have noticed that.
Well, let's close with an affirmative prayer.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, so let's just go within, close our eyes, go within and know that there's one life, one mind, one infinite intelligence. It is everywhere present, including within me, right here, right now.
There is no place where God is not. There is no place where all that is divine is not present within me. It is for me, and I choose today to open the door to that light, to that joy, to that love.
So as I am unified with the presence of the divine, I feel it. I allow myself to be uplifted by it, to be healed by it, to improve every circumstance, because I know I am the beloved of God. So whatever circumstances I may feel are not optimal for me right now, I choose to know the optimal is happening right here, right now, whether I can see it or not. I know it is happening. The best is yet to come. I know that to be true. I release this idea into the mind of God, where it is molded, created, and returned to me.
And together we say,
And so
and
it
so it
is.
is. Now, last but not least, for those of you that would like to support our church, our organization, I would invite you to do that. You're going to share the screen here.
Thank you.
And showing how you do this. And this is for almost all of you. This is something we've done 1,000 times, but it's always helpful for anybody that's new to hear this.
So we say this affirmation: my investment today is made with the full realization that God is the source of my supply and returns it to me enriched and multiplied.
And so you can donate
So it
however
is.
you would like.
Yes, this is our website. And when you go there, there's ways to donate. If you care to support us, we appreciate all of your offerings. And so,
Stop share.
thank
And
you. Go and
and
we want to end the recording.